tell me if I'm out of your mind? 'Cause you know you took me on that ride. If I could, then I would hit rewind. 'Cause I think about you all the time. Loving you was terrible, I lost my fight. Thinking I was special when I'm on my grind. Boy, you couldn't give up when you lost your mind. Boy, you couldn't give up when you lost your mind. Loving you was terrible. Haven't I tried well to be your friend? To be your friend. Ooh. Haven't I tried well to be your friend? To be your friend. Hating you was messy 'cause I wanted to be healthy, but your confidence just doesn't exist. Heaven knows the virtue that the truth will cut and bruise you. Through the clearing I will learn to forget. Would you tell me if I'm out of your mind? 'Cause you know you took me on that ride. If I could, then I would hit rewind. 'Cause I think about you all the time. Loving you was terrible, I lost my fight. Thinking I was special when I'm on my grind. Boy, you couldn't give up when you lost your mind. Boy, you couldn't give up when you lost your mind. Loving you was terrible. Haven't I tried well to be your friend? To be your friend. Ooh. Haven't I tried well to be your friend? To be your friend. To be your friend. To be your friend. To be your
Peace, everyone, and welcome to Who's That Lady Music Show, the show that features all kinds of music, great music. And we have with us straight from Los Angeles, we would like to welcome JORDI Up Late. JORDI, pleased to meet you and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. And just to get started, you have all the elements of synth funk and electronic pop. What influence or who influences your sound?
I think one of my first and biggest influences is the Gorillaz, just because of the cross-genre nature of Damon Albarn's, directorial approach, and so many different styles and cultures and sounds, from electronic to hip hop, to dance music to funk. It's just endless. So I think Demon Days was, back in the early 2000s, was a very influential album to me. My older brother played it for me, and I took that from him and just played it on repeat for hours, and then everything after that. He's a big influence. Modern, maybe more modern influences would be Tora Lee Moi is a big influence, Little Dragon, James Blake. And I think the one thing that all those people have in common is that it's cross genre with like an electronic thread.
Yeah, so pretty much cross genre of electronic music. And you're also a visual artist too. I noticed you have a lot of visuals in your work, and I love that, the whole synergy of that. And as a singer, songwriter, and visual artist, can you tell us a little bit more of your creative process of your song, like TLQ, for instance, as well as your latest single, Pulse?
So TLQ, was a collaboration with another producer. I actually had written some lyrics prior to having a session with him. I'm a producer as well, but I wanted to try something new and get with another producer, because I love collaboration. But yeah, so he had a beat and I had written lyrics separately, and somehow they just magically fit together already. So that's like an unusual process, I would say. That doesn't happen very often for me. But the puzzle pieces fit together, and the song was written out of something a friend of mine had said to me. They called me the tough love queen, which I definitely am and always have been to my friends. I'm brutally honest, sometimes to the point of it being a fault, but nonetheless, my friends know where they can get an honest opinion. And so that's where it came from. So I'd written the lyrics, and then I got with this producer whose name is Rutger, and he had this really funky track that I loved, and we just built it out together in my little home studio. And then with Hoax was my demo, really was born out of one of my synthesizers, this like Korg monologue synthesizer that I have with this like through line modulating like synth going up and down. So that was the basis for the whole song. And I usually write music. I usually put down some kind of sound first before I write lyrics. And a lot of the times that is born out of like a synth bass line or a synth top line. So very synth forward. So that was what happened with that one. And I guess the lyrics usually just kind of flow and come pretty naturally to me. And then once I have a hook, everything kind of, I just allow the hook to tell me what it wanted to be and base the rest of the song off of the hook. Even if the hook isn't about me personally. You know, it doesn't have to be something that's happened to me personally. I kind of just like follow whatever the song wants to be. But in this case, it was about a relationship that had happened like a few years ago, but the hook had brought itself to me, and then I just followed through with inspiration from a previous relationship that wasn't really even on my mind that much, but it was a source of energy. But I got together with this other producer named Liz. Well, her name's Brooks, and she's an amazing female producer, and I love working with other women in the industry because you know, there's not a lot of visibility around female producers and female engineers, so it's really important to me to be recognized as that myself, and to recognize and find other women, whether it's a mastering engineer, a mixing engineer, or another producer to work with. So she was really dope, and we worked on that together, and she fine-tuned it with me, and yeah, that was the process.
That's nice. And you mentioned earlier that usually the music will come first, and then you build lyrics on top of it. As far as instrumentation, what instruments do you normally use to build around your sound?
So usually I usually build everything on the keys. And then if I have guitar parts that I want to add, I will bring it to my guitarist and music director friend, Andrew. He works on my project with me, so I'll have him lay down guitar. I'll bring instrumental pieces to anyone else who can do it better than I can, because I'm not a great guitar player. But I would say I lay everything down on the keys and even drumming, and I'm very, like I said, I'm very like synth forward. So I usually start there, probably with like synth bass and a beat as the first thing, and everything else comes later.
All right, great. And you and I talked before we got on camera. You mentioned that you're working on your upcoming EP. Could you explain more when that will be released and the concept behind your new EP?
So this will be my first, collected project that I'll be releasing. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah.
Everything has been singles so far that had kind of been happier, like poppier songs that we felt like we could, garner maybe like a larger group of people, just because that's the nature of pop music. But I have this like darker streak of sound within me that is actually kind of where I would say is like where I naturally go to. I would say like dark synth sound, and I've been writing with that kind of sound since I was like 14 or 15, but that wasn't the first few things that we released. So this EP is really going back to what I feel like is my sound, and it's definitely a bit darker, so people who already know my music might not expect it. Mm-hmm. But it's definitely darker, more emotional. I would say maybe not more emotional, but maybe just like edgier. And that'll be coming out in January, late January or early February. And there's a lot of different genres within it. There's, like I said, like dark synth and electro-pop. There's kind of like indie, and then I'd say there's some like punk elements. So it goes a little bit, I would say it goes harder. And there's definitely more of an electronic influence within it. So that should come out early 2023. And I would say I don't know if there was a full concept behind it, but maybe I think just the elements of darkness was what was like the through line, and really allowing myself to not really pay attention to what is like pop music, and just give myself the freedom to say exactly what I want to say, and if that's heavier or edgier, then that's that. And so I just in my first collected project, I just really wanted people to know me and feel what is me in the music, and it's all stuff that or most of it, I think like 90% of it is stuff that I produced as demos. So they're all straight from me, and maybe one or two of the songs are collaborations. But yeah, I wanted it to be a JORDI Up Late produced EP.
That's nice. And coming to the fruition of finally a full EP is coming in, because my first introduction to your music was back in LA, which I played repeatedly.
Oh my God.
I just love that song. I just love the mood of it, the synth funk element to that song. What do you hope fans and listeners alike take away from your music? And what type of message do you want to send out to them?
Sickening sweet, don't universally, 'cause no one can be that happy. Dream on, I won't give you some. I can see you through your pheromones, and you're just too happy. Have your ear, but it's never what you wanna hear. Hear the truth is coming at you in tears, but I could write it in a letter. Would that be better?
I think through all of my music, there's an element of empowerment for myself. I think that's the biggest piece of being a creator, is that through, you know, mental health issues or romance or feeling, you know, unheard or whatever it is, whether it's like personally or societally, I think the music for me is just empowering, and I've never needed anyone else to help me make it or make it for me. It's always been me at the forefront of it, and I think that's really empowering. And I think a lot of the music is about not needing other people to make me happy, and knowing that I can make myself happy, I think. And it's the same way within making the music, because I don't need anyone else as a woman to make music for me or make music with me. I can do it all myself. But also the empowerment comes from, you know, being able to take me out of sadness or anxiety, which I definitely struggle with. I've struggled with anxiety my whole life. I think music and art, visual art, have been the things that have saved me and have kept me, you know, sane, which I think a lot of artists would attest to. So I think that, you know, just what I would want people to take away from it is their own interpretation of the music, but also the feeling that, you know, music is empowering. And yeah,
That's great.
and I also want to inspire other women to produce and you know, not maybe write love songs that are longing and needy, because I think I try to steer away from that.
Yeah.
It's okay. I think it's okay to be needy and whatever, but I think there's like a way to not promote it in a way that is misogynistic, in a sense. So I definitely try to steer away from that.
Yeah, I mean, your music is empowering and reassuring, you know, which is the message that you can constantly deliver. And the fact that, which is very refreshing, I've interviewed a lot of female artists, producers, and the rounding message is like, this is my craft, this is my baby. You know, I just want to make sure that what I put out to the universe comes through, and, you know, and you want to share it to the world, which is wonderful. Now, if you have an opportunity to mentor an emerging artist, what advice would you give them?
What advice would I give them? I think I would say lean into weirdness. If something sounds new or unfamiliar, just because it's maybe strange and nobody's done it before doesn't mean that it shouldn't be done. And I think all the people and musicians that I love came up with something weird to make everybody love them.
Yeah.
And I think I try not to limit myself in that way. I used to ask people, like, is this good? What do you think? You know? And what I've found is that people gravitate towards something new. Most of my friends aren't really that interested in anything that I make that might be like status quo. So I would say leaning into yourself and leaning into your instincts and letting weirdness take shape in your work.
Yeah, that's great. And you mentioned your influences earlier are the artists that pretty much own in their craft by doing something that is totally out of the box, like you mentioned, Gorillas earlier, and Little Dragon, which is another favorite of mine. Now, if you can get inside the head of your favorite artists or producers on how they create your favorite songs, who would that be other than the ones that you mentioned, or mention the ones that you did mention, or what album that you really enjoy and crafted?
Yeah, I didn't speak too much on him, but James Blake is a huge influence of mine. You know, people always say like, oh, I was like the early fan or whatever, but I really do think I was the early fan. I've probably been listening to him since I was like 13 or 14 or something. But an album, I mean, everything that he's done has inspired me, but Assume Form, which came out maybe like 4 years ago or something, was really inspiring. And he's worked with tons of hip-hop artists and other electronic artists. He's worked with Kendrick and Andre 3000 and so many people that have also inspired me. But I think if I could get in, I like to get inside his head and see, or I guess I kind of try to take apart his music and think about what it is that I love about it. And I think what it is that drew me to it at first was repetition, and he would sample his own vocals and sample his own piano playing, which was hugely influential to me, and I do that in my work now, and I owe a lot of that to him. And something that I also feel I've, you know, taken from him is allowing like haunting melodies to come through, which, like I said, maybe isn't prevalent in the music that I've put out, but it will be in this EP. Like allowing yourself to let go of something that's like haunting, because he has a very haunting voice. I don't know if you listen to James Blake much, but he kind of lets his voice and like melodies instead of lyrics set the stage, and then he writes lyrics over them, but it does a lot of like sampling. So I do a ton of sampling of my voice and of guitar or keys or whatever. Yeah, so I mean, I'd love to meet him someday. That's like my top like 3 people I'd like to like meet or collaborate with, or just like watch them work. But yeah.
Ah, nice. You said the top 3. That would be James Blake. The others would be like Little Dragon. Who would be the other 2?
Probably like Damon Albarn, James Blake, and Little Dragon. Probably I would have to just like go through my library to think about it, but those would definitely at least be all top 5 for sure. Nice.
And last but not least, tell our music lovers where they can find you. Any shows, you can just definitely plug away. And not forget, everyone, she's an amazing visual artist. If you haven't seen her videos, definitely check out her website to check out her artwork.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be playing at The Smell on the 20th, and that's in LA. All these are LA shows. So playing at The Smell on the 20th, headlining there. And then I'm playing at Zebulon in LA on December 8th, and that's for a women's reproductive rights show. And that's free. I think they're doing like a raffle for charity as well. And then I'm doing a DJ set actually on Thursday at the Resident downtown with a friend, Pink Skies, who's doing, I think he's playing his new EP, but then he's gonna have some friends DJ. So yeah, I don't think I mentioned that, but I'm also starting to DJ on the side a bit, and
nice.
that's something I've always wanted to do, and I kind of just throwing myself into it now.
Oh man, that is fantastic! Congratulations on the DJ gig too, and hopefully we will love to see you on the East Coast with some shows coming up. But
Yes,
definitely, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, Jodi Up Late. Thank you
Thank you so
so
much.
much for coming to the show.
Thanks so much.